just another minute, but I do want to chat in again. If you did not get it already in chat, this is going to be a link tree. It's going to have your Open Memo handout in it, and then some other 1L materials as well, especially if you have midterms coming up or anything like that. Lots of handy links in there. So we will go ahead and get started kind of as we're following along. So I think I've met all of you. If I haven't, my name is Holly Lynch Fritz. I'm your academic account manager for Thomson Reuters Westlaw. I'm excited that you all are here today. I would love for this to be as interactive as possible. These are my tips for your Open Memo and how to really leverage Westlaw to your advantage for this huge assignment this semester that you guys have. Here's my contact information. This is my email, cell phone, social media, however you want to get a hold of me, text, call, email, whatever works. I know that what you guys are doing right now is a super high priority, very stressful, so please reach out anytime you guys need help. I'm very passionate about what I do, so would love to help you with anything you're having. If you're totally emailed out as well, social media is a great option. People will send me LinkedIn messages or Instagram messages, and I can help you out that way as well. Sometimes it works really well. I can just send a screen recording. But today we're getting started on working on our Open Memo. So if we're going to go through a few basic steps. There are 6 kind of steps to go through. But the basic idea, and I want to kind of just phrase it for you, and a good way to think about it is, and it's again in that handout, we're going to find a launching pad document. We're going to start with this, find a starting point, find a good place to start our research, and then really build on that. We'll remember that something that's really nice about Westlaw and a really big advantage to Westlaw is that all of our editorial enhancements are built in. They're actually put there by actual attorneys, and it's really a product made for attorneys by attorneys. So really can make a difference in the research you're doing. So the very first step when I have an Open Memo problem, or really any research assignment, is going to be to create a folder. And what I'm going to do is I'm always going to create a folder based on my rule statement that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to create a folder and subfolders for each element in the rule pattern that I have. To do this, I'm going to encourage everyone, and I'm going to chat it in, follow along on lawschool.thomsonreuters.com. It's going to help you out, and that way you can ask any questions as we're going through the patterns. But a great place to start, and where I always start, is creating a folder. You just go to View All, and I create a new folder. Open Memo 2020 Fall. So right away, I have my new folder. You guys don't have 20 million folders like I do, so it's going to be easier to find. But what I'm actually going to do within this is I am going to create some subfolders as well. So if I am looking at my Open Memo, where I can't see, here it is, Open Memo Fall 2020, I'm actually going to create subfolders now within my folder. And this is why. A lot of your problems are going to have elements. So you're going to have, for example, let's say we're working on a habitual trespass memo. Let's say there are 3 different elements that we're going to be searching for. Let's say there is an element of habitual. And all I do is I highlight the folder, and I'm going to add a subfolder for each element. Let's say it's habitual, known, if I could type, known, and let's say my 3rd element is reasonable care. So let's say I know from my assignment that I'm going to have to prove these 3 elements in a larger subset of cases. Here's what's going to be nice about this. Now as we go through all of our documents and we start our research, we're actually going to be able to organize our research not only into a folder, but actually into the element that we're going to use it for. Where this is super helpful, a lot of the times I know people will get bogged down with research on one of their elements and really neglect another one. What's nice about organizing your folders this way is you can kind of step back, take a macro view after you've had a big research session, and kind of see where your research is falling. Really good tool for organization, really good place to start. So that is step 1 of your Open Memo, create a folder. Step 2, and this is true of any research project you do, it is going to be to identify your basic components of your search. So really maximizing your research by having smart search terms. So really going through your problem, it's kind of setting some of the groundwork. And so you might be thinking like, this isn't really related to research, or what are you talking about? But the smarter you are about your research terms, and the more focused you are on what you want to search, the better results you're going to get, and the more organized you're going to be in putting your memo together. So really handy thing to do is just kind of to pull out these terms in 3 different ways. Think about parties. So if you have a grandmother, an employee, a neighbor, an executor, whatever that party is in your particular fact pattern, pull that out. That's going to be a really good search term to use. Let's say we have some different facts. So places and things, if you have a geographic location or a type of location. So let's say, for example, let's say that we'll stick with that habitual trespass. Let's say that you have a neighbor who continues to trespass on your property, and they come over and over again, and they use your pool all summer. Now, one day they come over and they drown in your pool. Obviously, hopefully that never happens to anyone, but let's just say, for example, we now can pull some of these concepts. So we can pull over pool, we can pull over trespass, we can pull it there in your home. So start going through your fact patterns and pulling some of these legal terms, some of these relationships, and then some of the potential claims that you're going to have. Was someone assaulted? Was there trespassing? Were there injuries suffered? So someone drowned. Those types of things are really going to set you on a good place if you take 5 minutes to just go through and think about what your search terms are going to be. It's going to make your life way easier. So once you set the groundwork, you get to the kind of fun part, and that's finding your launching pad. So if you've been in any of my trainings, I always describe your first document that you start with as your launching pad. What you're going to do from that document is really expand upon it. You're going to use all of the editorial enhancements on Westlaw, and you're going to make sure that from that one document that's really on point, you can find a universe of additional resources. It's a really effective and easy way to research. That launching pad can be anything. And again, this is personal, and by this point in the semester, you kind of have an idea of what documents you like working with. We're going to go through 3 today, but you can start with obviously a specific case. You can start with a specific statute. If you do not have a specific statute or a case in your research problem, you could focus your research on secondary sources. So you can start there. We're going to take a look at that as well today. You also can start just using, general search terms, running a basic search, finding some cases that way. So definitely lots of places to start, but all you need for really good research is just to find one super on-point document. So do not get super bogged down and super overwhelmed by finding, 20 million different things. The 20 million different things will come to you through all of the editorial enhancements. All right. So for finding your launching pad, kind of what do you look at first? There's 2 places to start, and we're going to go through both of them. You're either going to start with a secondary source. So think of a CJS, AmJur, ALR, or you're going to start with a primary authority. So those are your 2 launching pads that you can potentially start with. Your secondary source roadmap is essentially going to be, and this is true for your cases and statutes as well, you're going to go to your content page, whether it be a statute or a secondary source. You're going to run your general search, and we're going to actually go through this, but I want to kind of talk through it first. We're going to run our general search in the search bar, and then we're going to narrow our search results using specific facts that we've pulled out or terms of art. So really finding documents that are on point with our research. So let's go ahead and get started with some of these ways to begin researching. So let's say that we do not know a lot about the topic. It's a complex issue. We don't know what the elements are, and we don't know where to start. I'm always going to suggest start with a secondary source. My favorite secondary source is called this Corpus Juris Secundum. It is a jurisprudence encyclopedia that's really easy to understand, is very plain language, and always has very great annotations. You also could type in, you could go to an ALR, you could go to AmJur, you can go to one of your state jurisprudences, whatever works for you. But if you know the one you're wanting to go to, all you do is you type in the name of that content that you're wanting to look at, and we're going to go specifically to that content page. If you're wanting to take a look at the CJS, I'm going to chat it in. It's a great one to bookmark. To do that, you can just add it to favorites. But it is a great secondary source as a place to get started. So if we're following kind of our pattern, we know that our larger topic is habitual trespass. That's what we're working with. So all I have to do is really run my basic search to find, if I could spell trespass, it'll correct me. So all I have to do is run my basic search. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter down my results to something that is specific to what I'm working with. So let's say I know I want, I'm working with habitual trespass and I want a document that's dealing with that. But right away we can see there are over 1,100 CJS articles dealing with habitual trespass. And that's too many to go through. So right away we can kind of use that formula that we have and put a specific fact on it. So our specific fact that we are dealing with is not just habitual trespass, but we are dealing with habitual trespass of someone's pool. So all we can do is if we go into search within results, we can apply just looking at these secondary sources that are specifically dealing with trespass on someone's pool or in someone's pool. What's nice is it's automatically going to be highlighted, so I can actually now see where they're dealing with specific cases of pool. So where there's trespass, but also dealing with a pool. And we can see quickly that narrowed my results from 1,100 to 10. So much easier to digest, easier to work with, and specific to my fact pattern. Right away, we're going to see this takes us to habitual trespasses for purposes of premises liability, enticement on land. And that can be where our launching pad starts. We can now use this document to find other documents and expand our research. Really great place to get started. Again, what's nice is now I have my rule statement as well. So let's say that your rule statement was not super defined in your fact pattern. A CJS is going to give that to you and kind of give you your elements. Where trespasses on property are habitual, known to owner, the owner is bound to have used reasonable care to protect injury to trespasser. So now we have the elements that we're going to be looking for in all of our cases, all of our statutes and secondary sources, and kind of have our eyes open to the research that we're going to need to do. Right away, a great place to start with is going to be add this to your folder. If you want to add it to your overall folder, just highlight the overall one. And now what's nice is it's going to save it there. Now, any notes that we leave to ourselves by adding notes, this is my rule, those are going to save there. So now I'm going to have access to all of my notes, and I'm going to have access to the secondary source, so I can later pull it and start using these as some of my rule statements. But obviously we know that the secondary source is going to lead us to other great cases. It's going to be completely footnoted and give us great next launching steps. So from our secondary source, we can find cases, restatements, all sorts of different things. All right, so that is one way to start your research, starting with a secondary source. Another way, and kind of what we discussed, is going to be starting with primary authority. So starting with a case or a statute. If you don't already have your case or statute, easiest way to do this is going to be to utilize what we just talked about, pulling those words from your search, from your fact pattern to put a really easy search together. So let's say, for example, we're working with the same fact pattern about the pool. All we have to do is type a basic search into our West Search Plus bar. So remember that we can basically type anything in here, and that's true of the most basic search. First thing you want to do, though, make sure you filter to your jurisdiction. So I live in Ohio, so let's say that my fact pattern is specifically in Ohio. Let's say that this happened to me. My neighbor trespassed over and over again in my pool. I'm going to filter down to my jurisdiction. What's nice now is when I run my search for cases, it's only going to give me results in Ohio. So I don't have to run a filter later. The same thing is going to be true though. I can take some of those basic words that I pulled from that fact pattern. So let's just say trespasser, drown, we have that injury, and pool. So we have, and again, my spelling, you guys are probably mocking me in your minds. I'm one of those people that heavily relies on spell check, but luckily it corrects me. So here we go. So I just used that basic formula. I have a fact. I have an element of an injury, and I have what the person actually is, what the party is. So kind of just very basic words, and I find cases right away. Again, we'll remember a really easy thing to turn on is going to be that select highlighting. It's going to show us all of the different words that are appearing, so I can really go down. So I can really go down quickly and see where all of my words are appearing. So which cases look like they're really dealing with trespassers and pools and people that drowned. So I can go ahead and take a look at any of these cases. We'll remember that they're sorted automatically by relevance. And we'll remember that it does automatically, when I run a search, pull cases as my first source. I also could quickly toggle over to the statute, or I could go to secondary sources. So easy way to filter down. Same thing is true here. I can really use my filters to get specific, very specific search results. So this is always going to be very helpful. If you need to filter down additionally, even more than Ohio, let's say that your problem is specifically at a certain appellate court, and you can only look in that appeals district, filter down to that. Don't look outside of that jurisdiction. Let's say your preferred professor made a note that you can only use cases that have been reported. You can filter down that. Don't look at things that are not going to be helpful to you. When you're doing memo research, you're going to be reading a lot of cases and looking at a lot of different things. Make it worth your time. Your time is so valuable in law school. All right. But let's say that we want to get started with this case. We're going to look at the Bennett case. And that's where we're going to, let's say this is our launching pad again. We use the example of secondary source. Now we're going to start with a case. Right away, what's nice is I have my heat map. So I can go down to my West head notes and see which head notes are going to be really on point with the research I'm doing. Right away, we can see that this head note deals specifically with swimming pools and someone having an attractive nuisance and a landowner's duty for care with their swimming pool specifically. We'll remember that the head notes are really going to guide our research. Westlaw head notes are written by actual bar licensed attorneys. They are summarizing the black letter points of law and really making it easy for you to target the research that you want to go forward with. So really knowing what parts of the documents you want to leverage, really having a quick understanding of whether or not this case is going to be helpful to you. Right away, we can tell that this is. So let's say we can add this to our folder, and we know that this is going to be going into that reasonable care, that duty that they have. It's going to be going into that folder. Again, saving and making sure that we are organizing our research as we go along, building our universe. You guys have done a closed universe assignment. Now we are opening that up and we have to build our own universe. So you're finding documents, leveraging editorial enhancements, and finding additional documents from the documents that you're working with. A great way to do this is through the key number system. So if you haven't heard about this yet, it's an amazing tool to use on Westlaw. So one attorney comes in and they write the head note, and then another attorney comes in and they specifically assign it to a very specific key number. A key number is a universal categorization system that West has been putting together since 1867. Really long time, we're kind of good at it, so you can really utilize it. What's cool is they're really targeted. So you can see the hierarchy of what's going on here. It's negligence down to premises liability, attractive nuisance doctrine, all the way down to there's a specific key just for pools and other bodies of water. So if I click on this key number that's attached, I am going to find cases that have been handpicked for this very specific sub-issue. It's very easy to find cases this way. So now I have 8 cases that are specifically in my jurisdiction dealing with pools and other bodies of water under the attractive nuisance doctrine. So let's say that these are all going to be something that I want to take a look at. There's only 8 of them, so I actually can select all, and I could add this to a folder if I wanted to take a look at them later. All right. Same thing here is true again. You could use that search within results again. This is a great place to use search within results. The cases are already going to be hand tied, so you're already limiting that universe, and really someone's already done the work to make sure this is a case that's going to be on point for you. So using search within results is really going to limit those results even more to exactly what you need for your research. So very, very helpful. I will point out, you can change the jurisdiction. What's cool about the universal key number system is that you can change the jurisdiction. So I could include other states. I could switch to federal law. But what's nice is think about that first secondary source we saw. It cited to a lot of cases in other states. What's nice is I could now use the key number system for a case in another state. So let's say I found a case in New York that's totally on point. I now can use that New York case, find the relevant key number, and then change my jurisdiction to Ohio, and it's going to automatically filter the cases to that particular jurisdiction. So if I just click change, and now it's quickly going to give me the hierarchy in a different state, but the same category. So very handy tool to be able to use, especially for open memo research. I will point out, if you want to search within the key number system kind of more generally, what you can do is you actually can click on key number from the front content page, and you actually can search right away. You can change your jurisdiction. I'm set in New York, but I actually could search this way as well. I can just go to the key number system. I could find keys that are just dealing with habitual trespass. And so here's one specifically dealing with that knowledge component, that knowledge element of habitual trespass. I could then go ahead, change my jurisdiction, and I could search that way as well. Our final, so here we go. There's 8 cases dealing specifically with that knowledge element of habitual trespass. Again, so really leveraging these sources. The final kind of document that we can get through and that we're going to discuss is going to be a statute. So we've kind of seen this. For cases, we're going to utilize the key number system to find additional sources. All other documents, you can use citing references, which you guys have used a lot. Statutes, we're going to use notes of decision. So we're going to find cases that are interpreting our statute. All right. So again, easy way to find a statute is going to be to go through a content page. So if we know we're in Ohio, we can go through statutes. We can go specifically to the Ohio statutes. I would always advise, if you know the state that you're going to be working in for your problem, go through that content page and go to that specific state statute rather than doing a general search. It is really going to really filter those results automatically for you and only have you search within your state statute. So right away, we can quickly take a look. Kind of that same pattern. Let's say we've learned in Ohio that it's called the attractive nuisance. And then we can add a different term. So let's say attractive nuisance trespass. This is going to help us locate the statute that is dealing with these terms. And right away, the first one that pops up is going to be the criminal trespass statute in Ohio. Let's say that this is right on point with my research. So I want to take a look at that. And again, we've used that same formula for all of our searches. It's been basic. We've used kind of different elements, terms of art, and then different parties. Great thing about this is going to be notes of decision. Again, the statutory language is great, but you're going to need a universe of cases that are interpreting the statutes that you're working with. That is what notes of decision does for you. So we utilize this tab in a really smart way. What's nice is notes of decision actually has a table of contents. So you actually can filter down specifically to cases that are dealing with land or premises. And kind of in that same realm, you also can use search within results. So if we talk about step 6, which is narrowing results, it's using your terms of arts and your key phrases or facts to really filter down. So again, what's nice is we have this whole list of cases, 236, but I can actually filter down by typing in, let's say pool, I have my specific fact, let's say pool or hot tub. Now it's going to find notes of decisions that are just dealing with those bodies of water. So people who have pools or hot tubs on their property. So now right away, I can see that, let's say evidence supported trial courts finding that friend's wife who died in hot tub while visiting home owned by husband and wife was a trespasser as to husband, and thus the duty to refrain from. So right away, we're building our universe, and now we have another case that we could take a look at and add to kind of our bag. All right, our final step. So I know this was a lot, but it's kind of getting through that basic. You find your document, you leverage everything on Westlaw, find more documents from that. The final step that I always will encourage you to do is to run your final memo through Quick Check. So Quick Check is our memo analysis tool, brief analysis tool, kind of any work of any legal document you're working with. And what it's going to do is it's going to make sure, A, that you're not missing any seminal cases or seminal documents. And it's also going to run a quick check report or key cite report for you. So it's going to make sure that everything you cited is still good law. All you do is you click check your work, you upload your brief, it can be PDF or Word. And I have this kind of cooking show style. I have my report pre-downloaded for you so you guys don't have to wait. But here's kind of what it looks like. It's going to give you recommendations for cases that you may have missed. So it's actually going to say why you maybe want to take a look at it. If it's a higher court opinion, right away here it's saying this. So it's saying, hey, you cite to this Hertz case and you cite to this Gold case. Most people who cite to these two cases also cite to this Wells Fargo case. So it's going to give you some of those recommendations. It also is going to give you warnings for cited authority. So in the time that you started writing to the time that you finished, there's a chance that maybe a case had a red flag come on it. And that's a good final check. So it's actually telling us, whoa, this case that I'm citing to was actually reversed by another case. So a good final check to make sure that everything you're citing is good law. Finally, it's going to give you a quotation analysis and make sure that what you're quoting from your cases is actually the correct quote. A really easy way to miss points. So definitely take a look at this and make sure you're quoting everything correctly. Again, I will stick around for extra questions. Remember that we do have a few contests going on right now. And if you do need help, again, please always reach out to me. If it's like 3 a.m. on a Saturday, I'm likely sleeping. I am sleeping. So please reach out to, we have 24-hour-a-day reference attorneys. They are bar licensed attorneys ready to help you research. I think they're one of the most underutilized resources by law students. It's free to you. Call them, live chat them. They will help you out with any problem you're having. Other thing, download the Westlaw app. Super handy. It's going to automatically sync with your account. So if you do some research on the go, I know I would always have some idea when I was, grocery shopping or wherever you are. You can then pull up the Westlaw app, add a note to yourself, pull up a case, and it'll be there the next time you open up your browser. I'll stick around for questions afterwards if anyone has something specifically you want to ask. But please have a great rest of your week. I will announce contest winners later, either this evening or tomorrow morning. So I'll put everyone in a randomizer. But thank you so much for joining. Again, if you have any questions, I will send around that link again in case anyone didn't get the handout. But if not, please have a great rest of your week and good luck.